Be ready. 5 seconds.
I stand here to oppose the bill brought by the Home Minister. The bill is about elected versus the selected. India's democracy is not a dictatorship as yet. How is an elected government being demeaned, and is it going to be run by the selected? This is my humble question to the government of India right now. The bill is completely undemocratic, unconstitutional, and is completely against the spirit of cooperative federalism. My learned friend was talking about cooperative federalism and talking about control. I was surprised that in a democracy there is a control. So, I was slightly confused because these kinds of committees are only seen in countries like China. I do not think India has this kind of control because I still believe there is democracy. That is the beauty of India. I think I need to have a clarification on this point. I do not know whether it is a generation gap, but in a democracy, control is not the right word. It is dictatorship, which is the right word. Parliament is supreme. The Prime Minister calls it a temple of democracy. They have to apologize to the people because they have lied to the nation. I want a clarification from the minister. There are two more questions which I want to ask. I want to ask my friend who has just left a question. Home Minister also talked about it. He said Article 239 empowers the Parliament to make a law to supplement the provisions, not to violate them. And he, in this same reference, said that this will have to go back to the Supreme Court, which is 3 kilometers away. If it is going to go back, then why are we discussing this and wasting our time? So, this is a clarification which I would like to seek from the government. What is the importance and relevance of Parliament? We should get a clear clarification because it is confusing all of us. Another point about the same article is that it says that the Parliament does not enjoy concurrent powers of law making on services. But no exercise of concurrent powers allows the Parliament to withdraw the same power from the Delhi government. What does this mean? It is a complete contradiction. This is my question to this government. People in power are intimidating us all the time. My question to them is this. There are three people and majority wins. It is two secretaries versus one chief minister. So, if the chief minister, who is elected by the people, is vetoed by two secretaries, what will happen? So, these are my questions on which I really need a clarification. It is a very critical legislation that is definitely going to upset and disrupt the delicate balance between the center and the states. It is against the very basic constitutional dictum that India shall be a union of states. I am sorry to say that it is a move for greater centralization, which is against the Constitution, which governs relations between the center and the states. It is equal to nullifying the recent verdict of a constitutional bench. Sir, that is why the legislative quality and competence of this bill is under question. We all know that it is against cooperative federalism. Nobody can justify it. Whatever points may be brought forward by the learned members on the other side, you cannot conceal the negative aspects of this bill, which goes against the very spirit of cooperative federalism. Sir, it is highly condemnable that potentially divisive issues are brought to focus. It is not for the good of the nation. Maybe it is done by the government in the run up to the next year's elections. But, sir, it will not be for the good of the nation. India has remained uniquely unified country in various ways of its life. We have to protect the values and ethos of cooperative federalism. It is by protecting the diversity alone we will be able to protect the values of federalism. The diversity cannot be subsumed in an artificial uniformity. That is what we want from the government also. I cannot understand why the government is rushing for and pushing for this kind of negative legislation which is against the norms of social, religious, linguistic, ethnic, and political diversity of the country. It is going to surely affect badly our structures of fiscal federalism, linguistic federalism, cultural federalism, and also political federalism. I would also add our service federalism, which this new legislation is definitely going to badly affect. So, I have to say that it is an attempt to bolster center's hold on the capital's administration, an encroachment on the remit of the state government, and expanding the ambit of the center. Sir, we can't understand this legislation. Instead of intervening in the matters and setting right the burning matters in states, why is the government bringing this kind of very negative legislation which are against the spirit of the Constitution? This bill under discussion is against Article 239. Nobody can conceal this. The foundation of this enactment is very weak. The nest built on a very weak and tender branch of the tree will not last. What I feel is that this kind of negative legislations will affect the spirit of our federalism, our cooperative federalism. It is very interesting to note that the Supreme Court gave its judgment on 11th May upholding the power of the Delhi government in matters related to Delhi services, and within 7 days the ordinance was promulgated to override the Supreme Court's judgment. What was the exigency to bring an ordinance in such a hasty manner? The President can promulgate an ordinance only when the circumstances exist which render it necessary to take immediate action. And the Supreme Court has pointed out several times that the power to promulgate an ordinance should be exercised with due diligence and caution. By interpreting Article 239, the Supreme Court made it clear that the Delhi government has the power to make laws and administer civil services.